The city never forgot the sound of claws. This is whispering narratives, where survival isn't promised and the dark always finds you. They said the last clan war ended 100 years ago, but the full moon doesn't care for treaties. It rises when it pleases, and tonight it wants names. I hit the street at midnight because that's when lies get lazy. The city has a way of baring its throat after the last train. Shutters rolled down, neon thinning, windows glowing like tired eyes. Sirens drift in the distance, ambulances ghosting past like silver fish, and every alley keeps a secret warm. On the east side, rusted fire escapes sketch rib cages on brick. On the west, the river pretends it isn't a vein. Overhead, a heavy moon presses down until the rooftops feel closer than the ground. I take the long way to the garage on purpose. It's a Silverfang thing, to give yourself one more block to decide who you'll be when the talking ends. It's a Dreadpaw thing, to make the other side wait and learn how badly they want you there. I'm both. A coin rolled across knuckles that never quite stops clacking. The courier's still there, bike on its side, one wheel slowly spinning like a hypnotist's watch. He's gone, either running, taken, or doing that human miracle of pretending it never happened. The air smells of hot rubber and rain that changed its mind. On the rooftop above me, gravel sticks to fresh claw marks in perfect crescents. Silverfang. Across the gap, the tar is pitted where heavier paws landed hard and pushed off. Dreadpaw. The chase was real. The footage wasn't a prank. The moon has better taste. The garage we chose is a concrete throat swallowed by shadow, closed for renovation, stenciled across a chain-link gate that everyone ignores. Inside, 5 levels of stale air with a metallic aftertaste, like you licked a battery. Fluorescent lights hum as if they're praying. A shopping cart waits on its side in an oil bloom, and a cooler sits abandoned, lid open like a jaw, empty except for melted ice and a single subway token drilled and threaded on paracord. A sigil disguised as trash. I pocket the token and keep moving. On level 2, my phone vibrates once. A message without words from a number that doesn't exist. Our old way, static that spells a name if you know how to listen. I tilt the phone and the grain coalesces. Lyra. My name like a bruise. Yeah, I whisper. The signal dies, satisfied. Footsteps above. Soft, disciplined, Silverfang. A different cadence to the west stairwell. Heavier footfalls, weight committed early in the step. Dreadpaw. They are on time. A miracle and a threat. I walk into the open of level 3, fluorescent bars strobing the dust like slow lightning. I set my hands where everyone can see them. Palms open, fingers splayed, wrists loose. The silver ring on my left hand catches a jealous fragment of light and throws it at the far wall, where a faded mural of the city's skyline tries to remember when it was new. They arrive without theatrics, because the past has taught us that dramatics impress only the dead. Silverfang step out from behind pillars in uniforms that aren't uniforms. Dark hoodies with EMT patches, high-vis stripes that don't reflect, boots buffed to a morality shine. They smell like rainstorms and cut grass. Their alpha tonight is Mara, jaw square, hair buzzed to the skull, eyes the kind of white that makes sodium lamps lean away. Dreadpaw emerge from the stairwell with the opposite gospel. Denim black with age, leather patched with wire, rings heavy enough to anchor a storm. They smell like forest pitch, gun oil, wolf breath on cold metal. Their interim alpha is Rohan, shoulders with the density of old gates, scars that tell stories only in litigation. Behind him, the beta, Kyle, carries a grin like a wound sewn shut. He's too young to be this dangerous and old enough to have run out of better options. His eyes are not ember like most Dreadpaw. They're a wet ox blood, steady as a heartbeat. It would make superstition out of anyone. Hybrid, Mara says by way of greeting, and the word does not love me. Lyra Vale, I answer, because names straighten spines. Thank you for coming, Rohan snorts. We came to keep you from getting clever. Then you misread the invitation, I say. I was already clever. You came to share the consequences. Kyle laughs once, short and unwilling. She's not wrong. Mara flicks him a look that files him into tomorrow. We are here to renew the river pact, she says to me, as if I'm a microphone and not a person. Or to close it cleanly, there will be no hybrids written into it. The River Pact was drafted by men who wore wolves like coats, I say, not by wolves who remembered being human. Semantics, Roan says and smiles. History is written by whoever's left. Then let's survive the evening, I say, and give history something better than handwriting in blood. There's movement on level 4, one wrong shadow crossing the grid. Every head angles a fraction and stops. Neutral space doesn't exist. At best you manage a truce with the air. I glance up and memorize the echo. Someone's watching from the ramp. Not ours. Mara follows my eyes. Yours? She asks Roan. His nose wrinkles. Hunters, or tourists. Smell the lithium. Drones. A phone camera chirps like a bird that never learned the word danger. The moon leans on the building, curious. We do this now, I say, before there's an audience. I step into the chalk circle I drew earlier in parking space 3C. It looks like a childish sun from afar, rays and arcs, but up close, it's hingework, geometry built to persuade stubborn doors. The smallest arc points toward the river, the widest swallows the exit, a sigil stitched out of commute, ritual disguised as routine. I'm offering a spine, I say, and my voice carries farther than it should. A living hinge. Bind both bloodlines on me. You don't have to like it. You just have to stop killing each other long enough to remember why you ever learned our names. Mara's face doesn't move, which means her heart is sprinting. Roan's mouth twitches, which means his math is loud. Kyle is watching my hands, which means he's the only one here tonight who expects to bleed. This is why we don't mix, someone mutters behind Mara. Too much poetry, too much survival, I correct. You can't afford to be separate. Not with cameras that never sleep and neighborhoods that don't forgive strange noises. Roan steps closer, boots whispering on grit. And what's in it for you? Fewer graves with my surname, I say. A moon that judges less often. A night where the only screaming is joyful. Kale's grin returns, softer this time, like a memory with a blanket around it. Those exist? Allegedly, I say. I'd like to find out. From level 4, a tiny drone dips over the guardrail and floats like a curious moth. The Silverfang nearest me shifts his weight, and in that sound I hear the entire garage tense. The drone's red light blinks, recording, transmitting, misinterpreting, and the moon puts its thumb on the scale. A breath rushes through the concrete. Dust shivers on the hood of a sedan that should have been towed a decade ago. Somewhere a dog barks and then corrects itself mid-woof into a low whine. My skin tightens as if it has remembered a smaller suit that fit it once. Mara sees it hit me first. The pre-quake in the muscles. The shoulder seams straining, the neck trying to lengthen the way a hallway does when fear is late for work. Not now, she says to the ceiling, which is not where prayers are answered. Roan bares his teeth. Not a smile, not a threat, an admission of membership. Moon's clock, he says. Not yours. I step backward into the chalk and put my heels on the mark that means stay. The chalk is still gritty, not yet useless. I pull the threaded subway token from my pocket and set it in the circle's throat. City coin, city oath. If the moon wants us, it can have us in a language we all understand. Listen to me, I say, and my voice has that new edge, the one that cuts both ways. If we change here, we do it without a war. We finish the sentence we promised 100 years ago and write a better one. We stop letting the moon outsource our decisions. Big talk for a throat about to split, Roan says. But he is softer now, because something in the geometry is humming that old lullaby wolves pretend not to like. Kyle takes one step into my circle without asking. The Silverfang closest to me growls. Mara lifts 2 fingers and the growl quits like a radio turned off. Kyle's gaze flicks over the chalk, the token, my hands, my ring. He nods once as if I passed a test I wasn't told I was taking. In the cage, he says. What cage? I ask. He smiles the painful smile again and points to the service elevator at the far wall, the one with the accordion gate and the brass plate that still reads capacity. 5,000 lbs. It's a cage because it was built to hold what weighs too much to carry. It's a cage because the moon loves iron and hates being told no. We settle the first vow between floors, Kyle says. Old way, Mara's jaw tightens. She'll be torn apart. Only if we mean it, he answers, and looks at me like the answer is the only food he plans to eat tonight. I breathe in the city. Hot metal. Old rain, fried food 2 blocks away, tired perfume at the edge of evaporation. I look at the drone. I look at the chalk. I look at my hands and count bones like beads I've prayed with too often. Between floors then, I say. Roan barks a laugh that doesn't hate me. Finally, a decision. We move. Not as friends. Wolves don't insult each other that way, but as citizens of a common problem. The elevator gate complains like a choir of old hinges. The floor inside is pitted with shoe prints and something that might, if you were unkind, be called fossilized fear. We pack ourselves into the square, Mara on my left, Kyle on my right, Roan opposite like a verdict. Someone reaches for the control. My hand beats theirs by an inch. I press the button that says UP because the moon loves arrogance. The motor wakes like a grudge that slept light. Say the first vow, Mara orders. It's not cruelty, it's medicine administered without sugar. I swallow a laugh because my throat is making other plans. Fine, I manage. First vow, no human dies for our pride. If blood must fall, let it be ours. Roan tilts his head, interested despite himself. Second vow, Kale says before I can. No kill without witness. We name what we do. Third, Mara says, and her voice cracks for the first time tonight. Not from fear, but from the weight of a warehouse of memories. If the moon chooses, we choose the mercy inside it. We ride. The elevator clanks through level 3. The drone peeks in, red light pulsing like a sick heartbeat. The cables hum. The chalk on my heels remembers me. The city tilts out the windows like a secret it's finally willing to share. And when the car shudders, stutters, and stops between floors, the moon stops pretending it doesn't know our names. There are nights when the city sounds wrong. Traffic too steady, windows too polite, the wind rehearsing something. Those are the nights when people start recording. A bartender uploads a clip of a shadow pacing the rooftop opposite her apartment. A subway conductor swears the tunnels breathe. His mic cuts to static mid-sentence. An influencer goes live from the Riverwalk, her followers counting glowing eyes in the dark behind her before the feed drops. Hashtag Dogman trends for 7 hours. Police call it vandalism. Silverfang call it exposure. Dreadpaw call it bait. The rest of the city calls it content. By morning, every major outlet runs the footage in split screen. One clip stuttering in 4K clarity, one dissolving into pixel fog. Commenters argue filters, CGI, moral panic. What they miss is the pattern, each sighting a mile closer to the center, like the city's veins drawing blood inward. I stand on a parking deck rooftop and scroll through the chaos. Silverfang encrypted channels ping red. Dreadpaw group chats burn with emojis of teeth and moons. Every pack thinks the other leaked the footage. Publicity, Mara growls through comms, her voice a low voltage in my ear. They'll come for us with silver and science before dawn. Let them, Roan answers. We've starved for relevance. I mute them both. The truth is simpler. The city was always ours. It just forgot the name of its landlord. There's a noise beside me, a phone left on the ledge, still streaming. A chat floods with hearts and screaming face emojis. I pick it up and stare straight into the lens. Tell them this, I say. When you hear howling in the storm, it's not thunder arguing with clouds. It's debt collectors. I drop the phone. It lands face down, still live. That's the thing about evidence. It doesn't have to survive, only multiply. Later, in the Undercity, I meet Kale where the old aqueduct splits into twin tunnels. He's traded his leather for a mechanic's coverall, grease up to the elbows. Even camouflaged, he smells like storm soil and violence. He's cleaning a drone rotor with the patience of a surgeon. You leaked it, I accuse. He snorts. If I did, you'd be signing autographs, not hiding in drain pipes. Then who? He holds up the rotor. Whoever profits from chaos, hunters, or maybe someone like you. I laugh without joy. You think I want this war viral? Wars need witnesses. Otherwise, they're just murders that echo. He tosses the rotor into the dark. It clatters, spins, and keeps spinning, echoing into infinity. That's the sound of history, he says. No breaks. We move through the maintenance shafts, walls sweating, pipes humming, graffiti glowing faintly where Silverfang wards overlap with Dreadpaw curses. The city is a palimpsest of our paranoia. I trace one sigil, a circle bisected by teeth marks. It's ours, old protective. Someone's overwritten it with a smear of black resin and Latin letters, O.P. Irati. IONPATK government branding masquerading as myth. They're organizing, studying us through the veil of hashtags and fear. Kale notices the chill in my voice. You see it too, he says. Yeah, they're cataloging wolves like wildflowers. He grins sharp. Then let's bloom ugly. Before the digital age, clan wars were local. Territory meant streets, rivers, graveyards. Now it's bandwidth, encryption keys, influencer reach. Silverfang cling to secrecy, old world honor in new world alleys. Dreadpaw adapt, upload, remix, weaponize fame. Both forget the first rule of the moon. Attention is an invitation. Every retweet is a summoning circle drawn in code. We reach the old metro hub, abandoned since the flood of '92. Tracks curl like dead snakes. In the center, a shrine of lost objects. Phones, dog tags, silver jewelry arranged into a rough crescent. Kyle kneels, sniffing. Silverfang offerings. They're begging the moon to forgive them for going digital. I crouch beside him. Or baiting us to bite. He gestures at the jewelry. Recognize any names? I scan the dog tags. One bears my mother's. Yeah, I whisper. The metal hums under my fingers, memory searing up the nerves, her voice on the last night saying, "Remember, child, our kind doesn't die. We relocate." Kyle watches me shake it off. He doesn't comment. Respect among beasts is silence at the right moment. He just asks, "Still think this war ends with signatures?" "I think it ends when the moon runs out of room to look down," I say. Above us, thunder. No, footsteps, human boots, a squad moving careful, tactical, wrong tempo for police. Kyle's head tilts. "Hunters! Smell the silver nitrate." I draw the knife I swore I'd never use again, short blade etched in both clan languages. It hums softly, a tuning fork for trouble. "Not here," I hiss. "If they see us fighting, the footage sells both sides." He nods. We vanish between pillars as flashlight cones slice the dark. Voices murmur into radios. A visual confirmed. Hybrid signature. Moving toward East Junction. Hybrid. My curse and resume in one word. Kale mouths, "They're after you." I mouth back. "Then don't get caught helping me, we split." He moves left, becomes rumor. I move right, become mistake. The hunters find my footprints, but not me, because I'm above them now, clinging to the rusted lattice like a gargoyle with better posture. They pass beneath, their armor humming, sensors sniffing air. One looks up. Our eyes meet. He freezes. In that frozen second, I see the truth behind the visors. Not zeal, not courage. Curiosity. They want to see if the myth smiles before it kills. I bare my teeth to oblige. He jerks, fires, misses. The silver slug sparks against concrete, leaving a smell like burned purity. By the time the others turn, I'm gone. Not vanished, just distributed. The old trick. One heartbeat in 4 places, each echoing the same promise. When I resurface, it's on the riverbank, dawn bleeding orange through smog. City sirens weep over last night's casualties, hunters mauled, civilians missing, footage everywhere. Mara's voice crackles through the static of my earpiece. "Congratulations, you made the news again." I look at the skyline, jagged teeth against a dying sun. "Good," I whisper. "Let them see the muzzle that feeds them. Because every war starts in darkness. But this one wants subscribers." The elevator groans like an old god clearing its throat. Cables sing, grease sweats. The brass plate over the buttons winks a jaundiced UP back at our faces like it's in on the joke. Mara stands to my left. Everything straight lines and doctrine. Roan plants himself opposite, arms crossed, jaw squared, apocalypse casual. Kale leans at my right shoulder, hands loose, like he's flunked out of heaven and won't stop smiling about it. Between floors, the car judders and halts. The light strips flicker, a staccato that reminds the skin it's a garment, not a birthright. The hinge, Mara whispers to me, meaning the chalk vows we made downstairs. Hold it, I try. I really do. I think small, human thoughts. The perfect, unremarkable weight of a key, the click of a deadbolt at 3 a.m. My mother's hand smoothing a bedsheet like calm could be ironed into cotton, But the moon likes its jokes physical. A pressure climbs my spine like a trespasser that knows the code. The first crack isn't sound, it's permission. My collarbone widens with a nauseous pop. Shoulders translating into a dialect they only speak under oath. Fingers lengthen, nails shear forward like knives deciding to retire from the cutlery drawer and take up hunting. Heat swarms the inside of my skull. Mara's breath hitches. She hides it, but I grew up on the same hymns. Roan bares teeth. We're out of time. Kyle says nothing. He just lays 2 fingers against the gate to feel the cables pulse like a doctor with bad bedside manner. Then gravity changes its mind. The car slips 1 shuddering foot, metal shrieking complaint. Everyone grabs for something. Kale takes my wrist without ceremony. Not tenderness, engineering. He angles my arm so bone won't tear through skin quite yet. Say the 3rd vow again, he says. I choke out. If the moon chooses, we choose the mercy inside it. Mara finishes, a voice steady out of spite. Roan snorts. Mercies for mornings. You've had centuries of nights, I say, and my jaw cracks mid-syllable, teeth erupting like a bad harvest. My voice drops an octave into the place sermons go when they stop asking. The car lurches down another foot. The drone from the garage drifts into view through the gate, red light blinking. It hovers nose to nose with me like a curious wasp. Roan lifts a hand. Don't, I know why. The internet doesn't forgive choreography. Too late. My eyes flare. The drone flinches backward as if electronics can learn to regret. I don't choose the change. I permit it. That's the trick no one tells the campfire. Control isn't a leash, it's a handshake. Bones elongate by degrees I'd sue for if I had a union. Skin pulls tight, then ripples, then yields to a topography that remembers forests no zoning board can erase. Hair arrives as a rumor first, then as proof. My hearing reconfigures. I can taste Mara's fear through her deodorant. Hear Roan's heart insist it's the drummer tonight. Hear Kale do something dangerous. Calm down. Hybrid, Roan says clinically. Split ratio. I answer by growling, then discover the growl comes wrapped in words, as needed. The voice is mine and not mine, from a lower floor in the same house. The cable hum lifts a half step. The car takes it as a cue, shivering upward a few inches. Then a bang. Someone has jammed the outer door above with a crowbar. The elevator stalls hard enough to knock Doctrine out of posture. Hunters, Mara hisses. 3 shadows land on the roof, a trio of wrong-footed thumps. A drill bites metal, sparks free-falling like captive stars. Down! Kyle barks, but the access panel already coughs screws. The square pops. A round cylinder drops through like a baby meteor. It hits, clangs, rolls, and hisses a chilled breath. Silver aerosol, fast-acting, lab purity, the kind that turns lungs into confetti. My throat spasms. The beast inside me takes offense. Instinct throws a breaker. I punch the canister. It ricochets into a corner, still hissing. Mara whips off her high-vis jacket and slaps it over the leak, yanking a strap tight to tourniquet the air. Roan surges to the panel, fingers hooked, eyes hateful. Kale kicks the emergency stop. Off, then on, then off again, confusing the motor into an epileptic stutter. Give me 15 seconds, he says, then hold whatever comes through. I blink tears that sting like betrayal, blink again, and the tears decide to run backward, eyes undrying under the new rules. The aerosol's not winning. Not yet. Up top, a hunter's mask appears in the panel, chrome-beaked, mirrored, anonymous. He points a weapon that looks like a divorce between a nail gun and a superstition. Roan meets him with a lesson. His forearm bulks mid-swing, bone ruling like an iron. He slams the muzzle aside. The bolt fires into the floor and sings a hateful note. I feel the vibration through my bare feet and know exactly where the building keeps its grudges. Now, Kyle says. He jabs the manual release tucked behind the brass plate. The winch squeals a long, violated squeal. The car drops 6 inches, slamming every knee into tomorrow. The hunter above misjudges, stumbles, and his arm knifes through the panel up to the elbow. Mara takes the arm at the wrist like a receipt and twists. The weapon clatters. Roan catches it clean in his free hand, reverse grips it and returns the favor, fires upward. The bolt punches into the roof. Someone screams with that unpleasant metal-in-me sound that makes even monsters wince. The drone, meanwhile, films everything with a sincerity awards show's envy. Smile, I snarl. The second hunter drops a flash pellet. Kale throws his body between it and the aerosol. Idiot move, saint's math. The flash detonates white. The world blinks. For a half second, the elevator is only vain lightning on closed eyelids and the sound of the city applauding. When the light dies, I've redistributed. Longer arms, heavier haunch, teeth that name themselves. The panel spits a third hunter through. Head first, sloppy, desperate. He lands across my feet and looks up just as I look down. Don't, he whispers. It's not a plea. It's the reflex that makes a hand reach out when a glass falls. I drag him to the gate and pin him there by the collar, nose to the drone. Tell your supervisors, I say, each word packed with fur. We do our own audits. I throw him back up through the panel like returning a fish too small for dinner. He caroms off metal, curses, scrambles. Someone on the roof pulls him by the harness, a puppet yanked by an embarrassed god. Kyle slams the panel shut with the flat of the stolen weapon. Enough theater, he says. We're bleeding reputation. The elevator lurches up, foot by grudging foot, past the jam. The aerosol dwindles to a metallic ghost. The cable finds a cleaner note. The motor agrees to cooperate if we don't ask its real wage. Mara wipes her mouth with the back of her hand. You okay? Define okay, I attempt, and the voice comes out half wolf radio. My ribs finish their vote, widening one notch more. The pain is a cathedral bell I could live inside forever if I had to. Roan sights the stolen bolt gun on the ceiling, considers religion, lowers it. They'll have the footage, he says. Good, I answer. Let them upload a sermon. Kyle checks me, not tender, thorough. He runs a knuckle along the hinge of my jaw, testing mobility, like he's considering tightening a bolt. You can hold the hybrid, he asks. I nod. The nod has weight. Long enough. Then we finish the vow upstairs, Mara says, tone iron-masked. No more interruptions. The car coughs through level 4. The doors flirt with opening, think better of it. We creep toward 17, the construction floor with the humming bulbs and the promise of bad decisions. The cable sings lower. The gate rattles like prayer beads. I can smell the stadium from here. Old grass memory, iron dust, 1,000 ghosts slouching toward relevance. The ritual geometry I chalk downstairs vibrates in my teeth as if the whole building is drawing circles around us. Listen, Kyle says, we all do. Under the motor, under the cable, under the hunter boots retreating across the roof, there's a deeper sound, a city thinking. The kind of thinking that produces policy, not philosophy. It doesn't love us. It remembers us. Close enough. Doors, Roan says. The car kisses level 17. The accordion gate clacks open like a grin with too many teeth. The hallway beyond is bathed in the yellow of an almost dead star. Plastic sheeting breathes ghostly. A portable floodlight ticks after overwork. A sign taped crooked reads, "Watch your step," in a font too cheerful for prophecy. We step out, me half taller and too honest about it. Mara's hand lands once on my forearm. Contact, consent, command. She removes it before nostalgia wakes up. Roan scans angles, calculating murder geometry like it's algebra. Kyle rolls his shoulders, then rolls his neck, then rolls his eyes at himself for caring how his neck feels. At the stadium, I say, voice steadier. We end it, Roan grunts. We start it. Semantics, Mara mutters. Kale grins at me sidelong. Don't die. Plan B, I say. Good, he answers. My plan A involves reckless hope and poor impulse control. Tradition, I concede, and there it is, the antique of us. We call our worst habits heritage to make them easier to parade. Somewhere below, a siren Dopplers. Somewhere above, the drone whistles away, hungry for a Wi-Fi connection and the applause of strangers. The moon has found its angle on the hallway and made a sword out of it. We walk toward the blade. The stadium sits on the far side of the river like a jawbone lost in the mud. Its ribs of concrete poking out under rusted rebar. For 30 years the city has argued about demolishing it, but the money always disappears. The moon, however, has an economy of its own. Tonight it invests. We cross the footbridge in silence. Mara limps slightly from the aerosol but keeps pace. Roan walks with that predator's lope, loose at the joints, tension at the heart. Kale and I lead. Our shadows run ahead of us like rumors. The gates gape open as if we bought tickets. Inside, the concourse smells of mildew and memories, hot dogs, sweat, gun oil. Every door is chained, but chains are just jewelry to hands like ours. We pass under a peeling banner for a defunct beer brand. The wolf mascot accidentally prophetic. It grins down, yellowing, as if it's been waiting for us. I chalked glyphs here days ago under the cover of tagging, flares crushed into dust, mixed with salt from the river, drawn into the concrete like an architect of bad decisions. Triangles for pressure, circles for mercy, arrows for escape that don't point anywhere. Now they pulse faintly under the moonlight, as if the concrete itself is exhaling. Kyle notices. You prepared the ground. An arena is an arena, I say. The crowd changes, but the rules don't. He squats, runs a claw along one chalk line. These'll hold? They'll buy us a few seconds, I answer. That's all I need. Mara stops at a vomitorium entrance and sniffs the air. They're already here. Both sides. Roan asks. She nods once. Smell the silver. Smell the pine. We step into the bowl. The seating rises in rings, shadowed and rotting. Grass has colonized the pitch. In the center sits a circle of old floodlights, stacked like bones, each cord cut and curled. It looks less like a lamp pile and more like an altar someone forgot to clean. From the west tunnel, Silverfang arrive, silhouettes slipping between beams of moonlight. From the east, Dreadpaw, shoulders rolling like a tide of fur. Each group stops just shy of the chalk's edge. Their eyes catch the faint red of the flares. A language older than signage, Kel mutters. Welcome to my TED Talk. Speak loud enough, I say, and even ghosts will take notes. I walk into the center and feel the weight of their stares. Hybrids aren't supposed to live long enough to get a reputation. I make mine by breathing. You've all seen the footage, I say, and my voice carries up to the cheap seats. You've seen the hunters. You've seen the city learning our names again. Tonight you get to choose if you're the last entry in the archive or the first page of something else. A murmur, like the sound of fur rubbing against brick. Mara steps to my left, Kale to my right, Roan a few paces behind like a shadow with opinions. No more speeches, a Silverfang alpha calls. Decide, a Dreadpaw responds with a bark laugh. We already decided. They step forward simultaneously. The chalk flares, a low blue crackle that smells like thunderstorms. Both sides hesitate not from fear, but because old rules tickle old instincts. Kale whispers in my ear, "This is where you either bind them or they eat you." I'm open to suggestions. Fear them, he says. But don't look away. I close my eyes and let the city pour through me. Every CCTV glitch, every hashtag, every subway echo. The chalk pulses. The moon tilts its pale head. The godwolf's attention creeps nearer like a tide under ice. I open my eyes. Here's the third vow, I announce. We end this in one circle. No hunters, no witnesses, just us. We change or we die. Someone in the Silverfang ranks growls. Someone in the Dreadpaw ranks answers. For a heartbeat, it's a choir. I step back, make room for Kale. He moves forward and peels his jacket off one arm, revealing ritual scars carved into his skin like cartography. We're sick of being exhibits, he says. Tonight we write our own caption. Roan rumbles approval low in his chest. Mara's nostrils flare. The packs shift, caught between instinct and curiosity. There's a sound from above, a stutter of rotors. Not drones, helicopters. The hunters have escalated. Searchlights jitter over the bowl, picking at the glyphs like scabs. Loudspeakers crackle, then spit static. The voice never comes. They're waiting for us to transform, Mara murmurs. To film the monster, not the conversation. Then don't give them what they want, I say. Not yet, Kyle grins. Tradition says otherwise. The chalk flickers brighter now, as if aware of a script cue. The air grows heavier, like the moment before a train roars past. My claws itch inside my hands. Around the perimeter, wolves shift from foot to foot. I crouch, press my palm into the center sigil, feel the old hinge click under my skin. A sound like distant howling rises from the bowels of the stadium, low and resonant. Not wolves, not wind. The godwolf moving in its sleep under concrete. The packs hear it too. For a second, every snarl dies in every throat. In that silence, I drop the last line they need. If you don't choose, something older will choose for you. I stand. The moon edges out from a cloud. Shadows lengthen like knives. Where would you run? I call to them. If the claws found your door. It's not just a question. It's a hook dropped into their blood. Even alphas can't help answering. In the twitch of ears, the shift of weight, the way eyes flick to exits, the answers ripple through them like static. Kyle leans closer, murmurs, "They're listening." "Good," I say. Then we're halfway to surviving. Above, the helicopters hover, rotors beating time like a ritual drum. The godwolf's breath rolls through the stadium bowl, lifting dust into tiny spirals. This is the place. This is the night. This is the hinge between centuries. Kyle cracks his knuckles. Time to open the door. "Kick it," I answer. We step back together, giving the moon room to witness. Packs tense on their edges. The chalk sigils flare one last time, then collapse inward like shutters, leaving only the circle, the night, and us. The air in the stadium stills. Even the helicopters above seem to drift in confusion. Every eye, human-wolf hybrid, fixes on the chalk circle that hasn't stopped smoldering since I touched it. The light pulses like a heartbeat too big for any one chest to hold. Kyle's voice cuts through the silence. "You said we'd finish this here. What did you mean?" "I meant," I whisper, "that none of us remember how the curse started. The flares gutter out. The moon's the only lamp left. Shadows rearrange themselves into a congregation. The godwolf's breath rises again, low and steady, turning the stadium into a lung. I kneel, trace the cracked concrete where the circle meets the earth. And the old words come without permission, syllables that taste like ash and copper. Long before Silverfang and Dreadpaw split, I say, we were one pack under one moon. Our alpha wasn't born, he was forged. Mara's eyes narrow. "Forged in famine," I answer, "when winter killed faster than silver ever could." Centuries ago, in a forest that no map dares to remember, the pack followed a single voice, Garen Whitebone. He wasn't the first wolf, but he was the first to negotiate with hunger. They say he knelt before the moon and offered the only currency that mattered, obedience. The moon accepted, but it is a cruel banker. It charged interest. Every generation since pays it in flesh and division. Garen's howl didn't bless us. It billed us. When humans found us, Garen made the first split. Half the pack would walk beside men and protect them. Silverfang, half would feed on the rot and the forgotten. Dreadpaw. Balance, he said. Mercy in two directions, but mercy doesn't survive translation. Each side twisted the old words until the oaths broke. Garen's body was buried under this city's river, his blood mixed with iron, his bones scattered in the foundation. The stadium stands at the heart of that foundation. We've been fighting on his grave for decades without realizing it. Roan's growl fills the silence that follows. "You're telling us the war's a bookkeeping error?" "I'm telling you," I say, "that Garen's curse was never broken. We've been reenacting his debt every full moon." Mara paces. "If what you say is true, then ending the war means ending him," Kyle finishes, "and he's not as dead as he ought to be." The concrete beneath our feet hums. Dust dances upward, drawn by unseen breath. Kyle lifts his head and whispers, "You feel that?" I nod. That's Garen listening. From the far stands, a gust of wind picks up trash, plastic bags, paper cups, feathers, and swirls them into a vortex. The debris twists until it stands upright, vaguely human, vaguely lupine. A voice older than concrete rasps from the whirlwind. "My heirs quarrel in my house. Again." Silverfang fall to their knees. Dreadpaw snarl in reverence. Kale and I stand stubborn as orphans. "You split us," I shout. "You cursed us to play both victim and predator." "Balance," the voice replies. "Order. The moon requires duality." "You require obedience," I counter. "We require evolution." The vortex trembles. The godwolf isn't a beast. It's an algorithm made of faith and bone, coded to reset every time peace looks probable. Kyle steps forward, defiant. "You call yourself a god, but you're just gravity for bloodlines." The air thickens. The vortex darkens to red. "You would defy your own maker." "I already have," he says, and he bares his throat, not in submission but as a challenge. Lightning claws across the sky, and rain begins, not water but fine gray ash. It drifts down and stains the chalk circle into veins. The ground hums louder. I look up. The moon stares back, a coin spinning on its edge. The voice of Garen swells until the stadium shakes. "One blood must bind, or both shall perish." I glance at Kale, then Mara, then the rows of divided wolves watching us like a jury desperate for a verdict. Then one blood it is, I say. Mara's eyes widen. Lyra, no, but the decision's already made. I dig my claw into my palm and press my blood into the chalk. Kale mirrors me without hesitation. 2 drops hit the same crack. The concrete hisses hungry. The ash lifts off the ground in a slow spiral drawn to the center. The moon brightens until color bleaches out of the world. Every wolf, Silverfang, Dreadpaw, hybrid, feels their pulse sink to the same beat. Garen's voice falters, then fractures. You would rewrite my law. Yes, I whisper. With our own handwriting. The ground cracks. A red light seeps upward like a sunrise trapped underground. It forms a symbol halfway between fang and paw, neither clan, both. The air smells of burnt history. Kyle grins through the heat. That's one for the archive. Not yet, I reply. We still need an ending. A deep rumble, distant yet closing. The helicopters are gone. The hunters have fled. Only the storm remains, and something in it is learning our names. Mara steps forward, hair plastered to her face, eyes wide and silver. Lyra, if this fails, then history eats us whole, I say. If it works, we eat history instead. Kale chuckles softly. Hell of a meal. The circle flares, then implodes into darkness. Every sound dies except for heartbeats, hundreds of them, finally in rhythm. For the first time in 100 years, the city sleeps without nightmares, but the God-wolf is not gone. It's simply watching, waiting for what we'll do next. Silence can bruise. The instant after the circle implodes, the entire stadium holds its breath. Ash floats weightless. The moon hangs at zenith, an unblinking pupil. Every sound, the sirens, the wind, the heartbeat of 1,000,000 watching screens, drops into a pit. Then comes the heartbeat that isn't ours. Thoom. Concrete trembles. Floodlights explode in a halo. From beneath the turf, something vast shifts like tectonic regret. The pitch cracks open in a perfect ring. Steam bursts upward, scented with iron and memory. Roan whispers, he's awake. Not Garen's ghost this time, the system itself. The God-wolf, the code that kept us fighting century after century. It rises as a spine of light and shadow, ribs of cloud, a skull made of all our reflections. Every wolf in the bowl drops to 4 limbs without meaning to. Even the air bends. Oxygen obeys the older gravity. Mara's voice scrapes through clenched teeth. Lyra, what did we unleash? Not unleash, I answer. Invite. Kyle bears a grin sharp enough to sign contracts. Then let's negotiate. The God-wolf lowers its muzzle until its nose eclipses half the sky. It speaks in 3 voices layered, thunder, whisper, static. 2 bloods, 1 body. Show me what that means. I glance at Kale. His eyes are molten, unreadable. He nods once, the kind of nod people make before drowning on purpose. We step forward together. Every instinct screams to kneel. We don't. Standing is our rebellion. The ground liquefies into mirrored water. Our reflections don't match. Mine, half wolf, half woman, is a storm of fur and scar tissue. The God-wolf tilts its colossal head, intrigued. Balance? It asks. Or blasphemy? Evolution, I say. Union, Kyle adds. The deity's breath gusts across the stadium, knocking several alphas sprawling. Mara shouts over the wind, it's judging you. Good, Kyle growls. Let it grade on a curve. The first strike isn't claws, it's remorse. A wave of force rolls from the crater, folding bleachers like paper. I dive, drag Kyle down with me. The blast skims overhead, shredding banners that haven't hung in decades. Roan rallies the Dreadpaw, bellowing orders. Mara corrals Silverfang, forming a ring around the center. Enemy packs now a shared shield. When the dust clears, the God-wolf looms half corporeal, half constellation. Each star in its hide pulses to the rhythm of our collective fear. Kyle pushes up, coughing. It's feeding on us. Our split keeps it fed, so we starve it, I answer. How? By agreeing. He laughs, a bark half mad, half sincere. Never tried that. We stand again. Around us, Silverfang and Dreadpaw exchange wary glances. Old instincts twitch, but no one moves. The bigger monster owns their attention. Listen, I shout, voice amplified by whatever algorithm now loves me. We end the war by choosing the same enemy. I lift my bleeding hand. Him. The packs look from me to the god overhead. The moonlight bends sharper, like a scythe choosing its harvest. For a breathless second, Unity hesitates, then something ancient snaps. They howl, not in fear, not in hunger. Agreement. Hundreds of voices harmonize into one terrible, beautiful chord. The godwolf rears, startled. Cracks shimmer through its ribs of light. Kyle grips my wrist. Now, we lunge into the crater, into the reflection. The water mirror swallows us whole. Inside is every night we ever lost. I see Garen forging the first oath. I see my mother hiding her ring. I see Kyle as a child chewing silver just to prove he could survive it. The godwolf floats before us, smaller here, almost human, its eyes 2 eclipses. You would end me? It asks quietly. No, I say. We'd teach you something new. It tilts its head. And if I refuse? Kyle steps forward. Then we do what all children do. We outgrow our parents. He drives his clawed hand into the creature's chest, not to kill, but to anchor. I follow, pressing mine beside his. Blood, silver, and umber mixes on contact. The godwolf gasps. Light erupts, flooding every corridor of this metaphysical hall. Outside, the stadium glows like sunrise trapped in amber. Wolves lift their muzzles. Hunters miles away drop their guns and stare as the clouds ignite. The deity screams, a sound like every wolf's first transformation played backward. Then, silence again. We stand in the crater, breathing smoke. The moon dims from white to a weary grey. Mara limps toward us. Is it over? Kyle glances upward. The sky looks lighter, but still dangerous. Ask me next moon. Roan spits blood, laughs. So what do we call this one? Truce? Miracle? Crime? I wipe ash from my face. A beginning. Kyle smirks. You always ruin my endings. Something soft rustles, a heartbeat behind me. The godwolf is gone, but in its place stands a shape of light no larger than a child. It looks at me, then at Kale, then dissolves into motes that scatter like pollen. Each spark drifts toward a wolf and sinks into fur, into skin. Every pack member gasps as new warmth floods their veins. The curse rewrote itself, Mara murmurs. No more division. Kyle stares at his hands. They tremble human again. What did we do? Gave the moon a choice, I say. And it voted for life. From the horizon, dawn finally shows up to the after-party. Searchlights blink out one by one. The city exhales. Kyle steps beside me, watching the sun creep over the ruins. So what now? We hold elections? Start a commune? Maybe, I say. Maybe we start with breakfast. He laughs, the sound rough but honest. You're impossible. I'm alive, I correct. For once, that's enough. Across the river, every screen that once streamed the war flickers to a single frame. A blank grey moon, the word paused, superimposed. Then static, then black. The world forgets in real time. Memory erases its browser history. Only we remember. I glance back at the stadium. The chalk is gone. The sigil remains, carved deep, glowing faintly like a sleeping pulse. Kale squeezes my shoulder. Think it'll hold? For a while, I answer. But peace like the moon loves to wander. He nods. Then we keep watch. The wind shifts. Somewhere, a wolf howls. Not alone this time, but joined by another, then another, until the sound swells into a choir that doesn't belong to any single clan. The packs are one. The ledger is clean. The night, for once, is full. Dawn limps over the skyline like a survivor that doesn't quite trust the light. The stadium, once the stage for every bad memory, now smolders softly. Ash turns to glitter in the sun. Broken concrete hums like something exorcised but not forgotten. The moon fades, but not out of spite, out of exhaustion. Kyle and I stand in the middle of what used to be a battlefield and now feels more like a baptismal font. Steam drifts around us, scented with iron and ozone. No more chanting gods, no more divided sigils, only the quiet geometry of survival. Do you hear it? I ask. He tilts his head. At first only wind, then faintly breathing. Lots of it. Hundreds, Silverfang and Dreadpaw alike sprawled across the seats in the field, still alive. They shift, stretch, groan. No longer enemies, just organisms waking from a collective nightmare. Their eyes, once all different shades of moon, now share a single color. A soft, steady amber. Mara finds her footing among them, her jacket half burned, her expression both furious and relieved. Roan leans on the bolt gun like a walking stick. Well, he mutters, someone call history. It's got a rewrite coming. Kyle chuckles under his breath. Think they'll follow a hybrid. They'll follow whoever howls first, I say. Then, before I can second-guess the impulse, I tilt my head back and let it out. A howl carved from relief, grief, and everything in between. Kale joins in, then Mara, then Roan, then the entire arena. It rolls through the city like thunder with a heartbeat, rattling glass and waking pigeons. Somewhere 1,000 cell phones light up again, just in time to record peace pretending to be chaos. Later, as we cross the bridge back towards civilization, the sun finally climbs high enough to reflect off the river. The reflection is strange, shimmering but distorted, as if something beneath the surface still dreams of moonlight. Maybe Garen's bones are still down there. Maybe the godwolf isn't dead, just sleeping with one eye open. Either way, the city owes us quiet, and that's good enough for now. Kyle walks beside me, human again, shoulders bruised and eyes clearer than dawn. "What now?" he asks. I smile. "We wait. The next full moon's only 3 weeks away," he groans. "You're kidding." "No," I say. But this time, we meet it standing together. When we reach the city limits, the first news vans arrive. Reporters trying to make sense of broken drones, missing footage, and a skyline that somehow feels less heavy. They ask for statements. We give them silence. Let the mystery trend. Let the legend do our marketing. Before we disappear into the crowd, I whisper the last line, half to Kale, half to whatever cosmic eavesdropper still cares. At Whispering Narratives, we don't just tell stories. We open doors to the shadows, and sometimes those shadows reach back. If you're still here after this one, subscribe before the next full moon, and share this if you still believe in mercy.